Hello coaches, welcome back. Coach KW here with another video for you. Sorry it's been a little bit, but it is the meat of the season for me right now. And between two club players and coaching, it's a 7-day-a-week affair. And well, time is at a premium. But I appreciate all the likes, shares, and subscribers. We've been climbing really fantastically since the last video, which I love. And you've been sharing it with lots and lots of your fellow coaches. And that's really what I'm here for, is to help anybody who might need some of this information. So if you've got a buddy or a teammate or members on your team, your town, your club that could use us, share away. We're all welcome here. What I'm going to do in this video set is actually going to be a 3-part set, because I tried to record it in one big one and it was just too long. I tried to record myself actually coaching with audio on the field of me coaching, playing out of the back with 9v9, had some audio issues, and so it took me a little bit to figure out what to do with the video. But I figured it out, and I think what we're going to do here is I'm going to break this up into 3 separate videos. When I like to coach playing out of the back, I like to coach it and I relate it to my players based on how many players the other team is pressing up against the goal line. So with most of the common formations in 9v9, that means that either teams are going to be pressing with 1, 2, or 3 players. And when I coach with my teams, we actually talk about not only what we do in each of those situations, but what the formations are behind that pressing player, because it's important for your team to understand where the strengths and weaknesses are based on what we are doing and the other team are doing, so that we can exploit that difference. So since we're going to be dealing with this first video, pressing with 1, the most common formations that we see in 9v9 against me is this one here, is the 4-3-1, where 1 striker, 3 midfielders, and a back 4 of some sort. That's the most common. Now, sometimes we'll see the formation that I like to play, which is the 3-4-1, or normally it's a 4-3-1. I have a whole video on all the different formations, including some pretty avant-garde ones that are out there. I'll put a link in the description here and such. You can go back and watch that one. But it's really important, I think, for your teams to understand what other teams are doing. I actually have a video way back in 7v7 talking about the 3 things your team should really understand. And one of them was, at 7v7, I was having my 3rd and 4th graders figure out what the formation we were playing against within the first 5 minutes of the game. And trust me, they can do it. 9v9, it's a little harder because there are more variations, it's a bigger field, more moving parts. But you'll see in the video, I will talk about what we're playing against and then what that means for my team when we do the video. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope that you like the new layout I'm using for this video in the demonstration section. I worked kind of hard to find a new piece of software to be able to make this 3-grid zone so you can see the diagram plus the video and me speaking. So if it works well, I'd love to hear about it in the comments, just because it took a lot of effort. I had to find a different piece of software. It actually took me some time to set the whole thing up. So if you find it useful, I'd love to know, because then I could perhaps use it in some other videos. But let's go take a look at my team pressing with 1 in this first video. Okay, so let's try this out. So this is a little bit complicated here, as you can see, but what I've got going here is my ugly face in one corner, obviously. I'm going to have some graphics in the bottom right corner that's going to go along with the video that's going up at the top. So we're we're working on playing out of the back here, 9v9. I have approximately 9 or 10 of my players here. So what you see in the far end of the field is another practice going on. And when I play the videos, you hear some of the field noise as well. And sometimes I'll refer to that. But when we coach 9v9 and we're coaching playing out of the back, one of the things we feel it's really important for our kids is to start to become a little bit more tactically aware. We do this even at 7v7, where we challenge the kids to try and figure out what formation the other team is playing. And in 7v7, it's a little bit easier because there's less players, there's fewer options, and it tends to be a little bit more apparent right off the bat. Whereas 9v9, bigger field, it's a little bit more flexible, it can be more difficult. But we do talk about it as a team all the time. So when we do playing out of the back, we first refer to what it is we might be seeing. So we always start with the number of players that are pressing. So in these first 4 or 5 examples, we're pressing with 1. And when we're pressed with 1, we then look at what might be behind them to say, what are the common formations we might see in a game? So in this case, Most of the time when teams are pressing with one, we see the 4-3-1. Sometimes we see the 3-4-1, which is the formation we play, but far less often than the 4-3-1. And we do talk about that, but since this is what we see played against us most often, we start with there. So you can see on the diagram on the right, you can see the red team is set up in that 4-3-1. The players that are not physically there, the back four are in that brownish color, as well as that 9 that doesn't exist right now. He's in a light blue, as you can see, blue-gray. So the blue players are the team with the ball. The red players are the players on the field that have the red pennies that are pressing. And so this is the first formation we work on, and we then talk about, okay, when they're pressing with one, how do we set up and what do we do? So the obvious thing is when they're pressing with one is, can we play out to our center backs who then can have an option of where to play, whether they play wide or inside to the 8s or even to the 6, as we'll take a look here. So in this situation, if you look at the video itself, you can see that the red players are pressed up hard against the widest players in the middle. And then there's a player at the top of the D, which is that one pressing, hard to see there. Maybe I can, let me see if I can highlight that. Right here, yeah, right here, that player is actually the pressing player, and this player here is the 6. Here's one of the midfield, 2 and 3. Now, this center midfielder is not a U8 player. Is not a U12 player. That's my U16 son, my MLS Next player. Very fast, so he's going to make it challenging for these kids. But that's a good thing, because that's all we had today was just that number of players. We make do, right? We do what we can to get the practice going here. I also have a new keeper. So this is really important here, is we're reviewing a lot of stuff we did last year for my new keeper who's new to the team to help them understand that. We do also have some new field players as well, but we're integrating them as we go. So you'll see here in this option here, what we're going to do is we've taken our center backs, we've pushed them wide. Since we have one pressing player, we want that pressing player to have to make some distance to get to the ball. And now we're taking a look at what's presented in front of us. And in this case, it's clear that the 8s on either side, or especially the one on the left, as you see, is wide open. They're right in between that pocket of players, while the other 8 happens to be just talking to my son before the thing goes. So let's play this, and you can see and hear the video, hopefully, as we go through, because you're going to hear the 8 who's received the ball actually calling for the ball pretty loudly. So here we go. So as he plays out, that's not the best touch. And then that 8 turns against his big brother who's coming to tackle him and takes it out to the 8. So very simple, straightforward process there of playing out from the back, playing what's given to you when they're pressing with one. Play out wide to the center backs. If the midfield 3 has spread out too much, can you find a pocket of space right up the middle and just cut through to one of the 8s? Now for this second example, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to play out to the right, but let's take a look at where the 8 is in comparison to the pressing player in the middle. Again, we saw earlier, he was kind of chatting with my son, so his positioning is being covered right here versus when we go out to the left, right? So when we went out to the left side, when that ball went to this center back here, that pass was on straight into the 8, but it's not available on this other side, as you can see, because this player right here is standing on top of each other. Sorry, I'm still figuring out my keystrokes. So when this ball comes out, this play is not on. So we're going to see what they do and how they do it. You see the 8 is moved in, but now they've played into the 6, who then plays up and through the middle. And you can see that I let the play, when they do this, I let it go for a few seconds to really kind of reinforce them just moving the ball around in space, taking those options before we get it back to the keeper. I think it's an important phase to let them continue on as we go through. So in this case, as you can see by the diagram, the ball went out right to the center back, who didn't take a great first touch. The pressing player really started to close down, but the 8 up the field reacted, came inside, but he had pressure on him. And so they were able to make that triangle in the back and basically play 3v1 against that pressing player. And that's really an important part of when we're playing out of the back and we're pressing with one. It's pretty easy to show to the kids, like, hey, if they're pressing with one, at the base of the organization, we're 4v1. We have one pressing player, a keeper, 2 center backs, and our 6 standing at the top of the box. We should be able to move the ball around playing 4v1 at that point. In the midfield, because they're pressing with 3, we have, in effect, 5 players in there. So we're 5v3 in the middle. So we're making them make choices at that point. If they press the inside 8s, it leaves the wings open. If they press the wide wingers, usually 1 or 2 of the 8s is open, and that's where we play the ball. So it's not always playing that ball up and out and down the line. It's finding the weakness in their pattern and trying to exploit it based on what we have going on. So in this next example, we're going to show the importance of the 6 in this play, even when it's just one pressing player. It's really important for the 6, if there's not a direct move with the ball to them, that they get in a supportive position quickly and aggressively. And most of the time, that means them driving actually into the box, diagonal towards the keeper and the player that has the ball, to provide an outlet if the wide ball or the straight ball is taken away by the pressing player. So that movement of the 6 really opens up another layer in that middle area, whereas a lot of times you'll see 6s just standing at the top of the box and they get cut off by that pressing player's path and they get taken out of the play, and it isolates that center back with the ball. So in this option, you're going to see this player do a better job getting down into a passing position so that he can receive the ball from the center back as the pressure comes in. So let's take a look at this video. So here comes the press. The press is coming straight across, and the angle that he comes at, now my 6 does not come down as well as I'd like it, but he takes that ball, turns, and just looks up the field, and imagine there was a 9 even further up the field, so even if that 8 missed the ball. But again, the idea there is really want to see that 6 drop in and get a good angle so that there's a path on either side of that pressing player if they don't take a good curved run to receive that ball and just play through the middle. So in this example, we're going to show the effects of being able to use that 8 and use them as sort of a way to bounce the ball back towards the 6. So we almost do a third man up, back, and through situation here, or a second ball situation. You're going to see also the results of passes not being on the ground, making it much more difficult. You're going to see the center back's going to pop this ball up as it goes forward, which then makes it difficult for the 8 to receive. They do a pretty good job of dropping it down and then playing it to the 6. So again, it's one of these examples of playing the way you're facing. The 8 is not going to have an opportunity to turn with the type of ball that comes to them, so they're just simply laying the ball off to a player that they can see in front of them, which happens to be the 6, who by this point is facing up the field and then can play the ball up. And that's what you see here in this diagram. So let's watch the video example here. So from the play out to the left here, we got good pressure. He's trying to play it through that gap, and he puts it in the air. It makes it difficult to handle. Now, that's a fantastic ball because it switches the field and the direction of what's going on to play out wide there. But again, it's that bounce pass from the 8 back to the 6, who is now turned and faced up the field, that allows him to then see those options and play those balls in those directions. Okay, in this last pressing with one example, again, here's an option where my players are taking a chance to read. So we're going to play this ball out to the right, and the way the press comes over, everybody kind of shifts really quickly over and makes a very easy lane back to the 6. And the 6, when he sees the pressure has gone by him, he realizes there's nobody on the left side of the field. So instead of just taking that ball and trying to play it back into pressure, he's literally switching the field to a wide open pass to the wide player. You'll notice in none of these examples, we've played the ball out to the center back and straight out to the wide player, because during this practice, my pressing players, for the most part, stayed out wide and took that pass away. And we talk about that during our practice. But it's an important piece to say, hey, you don't force the ball into situations. You have to look at what the other team is giving you and play the obvious option when it presents itself. So let's take a look at this video clip. You see here, the ball goes out wide, and all the pressure starts to slide over, including now that 8 comes in. I mean, that pressing player came aggressively into the 6, who left that wide area completely wide open. So now that 6 could have had an easy pass either down to the other center back, or did what he did. He took the ball and sprayed that out ball wide, because everybody who we knew was on that pressing side had abandoned that side of the field, and it was a good idea and a good pass there. So really important to make sure your players understand you have to play what's given to you and have the confidence to do that. My players, again, have been playing out of the back since 3rd grade in 7v7, and so they're okay with letting the pressure come in close to them and then using that to find new space. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed watching my team struggle through the routine of them pressing with one. Again, it's real world. It's not always pretty. And I hope that with the diagrams plus the videos, you get a sense of the options that become available to you and the thinking behind what's going on behind that one pressing player that you can relay to your players so they can start to understand and make decisions. My team is really great about, they're now starting to call out whatever a team is doing and making sure that everybody's on the same page before the first or second goal kick, which is incredibly, incredibly satisfying. Good soccer players are good decision makers, and if you give them the tools to stop making some of those decisions on their own, when they get to 11v11 and it's hard for you to direct things going on, it'll just be that much better. So I hope you enjoyed this. Look out for part 2 and part 3, where we look at when teams press with 2, and then finally when teams press with 3. Because I think if I cut this up into smaller chunks, it'll be easier for you to go to a practice, focus on one at a time, get your teams to understand each one, and then you can start to do reviews like I do, where literally in 15, 20 minutes, we loop through 1, 2, and 3 just to refresh the options. So until next time, I hope you're having a great season. We'll see you out in the fields. Bye-bye.